This is one more video about the Matrix. I guess there is a lot to say about this subject, and it concerns us all because there is not just one Matrix, or it can also be said that the Matrix extends far above and away from Earth, as it is only one level of it. I've said many times that there is no physical world or physical realm of existence. There is only spirit world, because everything that exists in the so-called physical world is the result of perception agreements, where we are mentally trained or conditioned to see things, events, and ideas with a specific set of meanings that agree sufficiently with the rest of the people around us. As explained before, there is only potential energy in the infinite soup called the ether, and it is the mind of consciousness that forms that energy into something that under certain circumstances is considered to be solid matter. Being here that the mind of consciousness is anyone sentient, self-aware of its existence, and a fragment of source itself, being also source itself as a whole. And those certain circumstances, in the case I'm describing today, are the ones the perception filter of a living body gives the mind of consciousness, also called a soul, so it can fit into a certain box of perception, so be able to only see a fixed and limited set of factors and ingredients that form what that soul will experiment as a physical, material world or realm. That box of limited factors is what we call agreements of perception, and when more than one person considers them to be reality-forming base constants, is when a shared reality is formed. The physical realm of existence is nothing more than just a fragment, or a limited range, inside or within a much larger etheric realm that includes it as part of itself. That is why I'm always saying that there is no material or physical world, and that there is the only spirit or etheric world. The basic physical five senses are the ones that restrict incarnated people into perceiving only a very limited set of data factors that allow it to form a seemingly solid world that is something other than the much more expanded spirit or etheric realm. And this is where I'd like to set my attention today, only on what we perceive as the matrix of the material world. In that material matrix, there are set rules that are said to be unchangeable and unbreakable, such as the rules of matter in physics, and there are also other rules that are just accepted as such but that are not as mathematically hard as the ones in physics, for example, social rules. Among those accepted social rules are the ones that are imposed on nearly all, or all individuals since they are very young. One of them is to obey the orders of people who are in higher places than where they are, be them because they are their elders or because they are in some sort of authority position in the social hierarchy. As that social hierarchy is formed, so is the concept of that authority position knowing better, holding the truth and correctness, therefore the rest of the people should obey. Beat because they hold some kind of knowledge, scientific evidence, or simple raw political power that enables them to simply impose the truth because they say it is. This means that as time goes by within a civilization, whatever is considered to be truth, and therefore whatever is registered as memory, or as history, will conform to those who had the power to impose those facts as truth. Remembering that nearly all people in power will only want things to be registered as truths in memory and history, if they are convenient to their interests, whatever those may be. And there is where the ultimate truth a whole society is based on begins to become corrupt, because everything, and I do mean everything that is considered truth, has been heavily manipulated to the point where it is virtually impossible to know whether there is, in fact, some reality within them, and as time goes by this only gets worse and worse. And even those factors that define truth as such, for example, the scientific method, end up being manipulated as well, so the results fit into the expectations and the needs of manipulation of those authority figures in power, as I explained in detail in my video titled, "The Problem with Science on Earth." Please see it for more details. it is easy to find. When looking at the problem closely, we can clearly see that what society is based on is a complicated and elaborated set of convenient lies imposed as truths over the population by oligarchs and people in positions of authority to fit and fulfill their own interests. In other words, people who live in a society based on what I just described above have based their entire lives, values, and ethics on a set of rules that have been imposed on them by other people who only have their interests in mind. They have set the entire rules of their lives, and everything they live by on a nicely packaged collection of fat lies. Lies that they take as truths, and most of that population will not even consider daring to question their validity or veracity, and only a handful will question, add, and form their own conclusions, and those would be the so-called awakened ones inside that social structure. And what I just described is the basic formation of a matrix. You don't need any super high technology, nor do you need any advanced manipulative or mind control skills of any sort. And in the case I just described, that social matrix is formed almost as if it had a life of its own, and even without the intention of those in power, as a side product of their service to self mentality and their need to control the population under them. Where even those people in power fall for the tricks and the imposed lies set as truths of the oligarchs before them, and the ones before those as well, forming a sort of chain of lies conveniently set as truths just because they were convenient to them in one or another moment in time, and to fulfill their interests. As all the truths in such a society are there for the sake of population control, guidance, and exploitation, just about nothing remains as an objective truth that reflects the outside world, as I would call it. That by very definition is a matrix, where people would start to escape from it when they begin to dare to question the veracity of what is imposed on them as truths. And this is when the ones who begin to awaken start to understand that there is no reason for any authority figure to give them any solid, tangible truth that reflects the outside world. And I'm using the phrase, the outside world, rhetorically, as the real truth. Watch, observe, learn, question, and learn to add all the dots. That is an objective beginning to escape the matrix. Thank you for listening to my video, and I hope to see you here next time.